Hi everyone, SpiderMan 1991 here. It's time for my weekly comic book reviews. These comics came out on January 9th, 2012. Let's get to reviewing. First off from DC, Smallville Season 11, Number 9. And starting a new story arc, we get Bart Allen returns. Except he's still going by Impulse instead of the Flash. And basically what happens is Bart kind of arrives in Metropolis, and he and Superman sort of have a little bit of a race to see who's fastest. And it is revealed that Clark does run a little slower now since he can fly. And also Chloe calls them and tells them that there's an emergency in Paris. They go and they fight the Brain and Monsieur Mala, who are robbing an art museum with an army of monkeys. And while they're fighting Mala and the Brain, while Bart's using his powers, he's nearly attacked by some sort of black shadowy creature. And after the situation's taken care of, Clark asks Bart, Bart seems a little shaken up, and Clark asks him, "Is anything wrong?" And Bart's like, "No, nothing at all." Okay, well, first of all, I think the black shadowy thing that Bart sees whenever he uses his powers, it might be either the Black Flash or the Black Racer. It might be, or something from the Speed Force that's trying to get him. Also, it's hard. It really is hard to say with Smallville whether or not their version of Bart Allen is Barry or Bart. I mean, young Bart, because I think when the show started off, they were basing their version of the Flash off of Bart Allen Impulse, but eventually, I think as the show progressed, it seemed like they were taking him more in the direction of Barry Allen, and especially since his costume seemed more like a Flash costume than Impulse. But now, I really thought he was gonna. Now, when I saw the cover for this, and they said in the solicitation said a speedster's coming back, I thought, all right, Bart's gonna be the Flash, but apparently he's back to being Impulse. I mean, and plus, he's drawn to look. Plus, the actor who played Bart on the show, he looked a lot more like Bart Impulse instead of Barry. But now, when he's drawn in the comic, he looks a lot more like Barry. I mean, and going back to Impulse and redesigning the costume to look like Impulse, it just feels a little weird and really a step back, because everyone seems to be progressing in this series except, well, Bart. But I don't know, maybe that will change with the story arc. Also, I want to bring up another thing. We've always seen, pretty much we haven't had a story arc yet where it's just solely focused on Superman. Right now it seems like, well, the last story arc we had Batman team up. Now we have Impulse. So I really hope that after this Impulse arc that we can get back to, having the series just focused on Clark without any unnecessary team-ups. I mean, granted, Green Arrow is still Metropolis, so I mean, that's not really a team-up for me, but I really want to be back on Clark after this. And, well, pretty much, I still say Smallville Season 11. If you're a fan of the TV show, I would definitely recommend picking it up. Also, if you did like the appearances of Bart Allen on the show, then you should maybe give this arc a try. Okay, moving along. Animal Man, number 16. In flashbacks, we learned that Maxine apparently joined the Hunters 3, or she became the third of the Hunters 3 in order to save her family, and that's pretty much how the Rots started to take over the world. And also back in the present, Buddy and his team do free the new Green Lantern, whose name is Metaphil, and he's from a plant-like race, who's from a plant-like race, and he was sent there by the Guardians of the Universe to help save Earth. And also, the Guardians did seal Earth from the rest of space, so that they could try to contain the Rot. And also, after they free their new Green Lantern, the team starts to make their way to Arcane's fortress, where we learn that the gatekeepers are the Flash, Wonder Woman, and Cyborg. Well, the Rot versions of them, or as Steel puts it, the Justice League. But there's no Batman and there's no Superman. Again, we have no idea what happened to Superman, and as far as Batman, I think what happened to Batman is kind of going on Swamp Thing. I haven't read the Swamp Thing half of Rot World yet because I don't know why I haven't anyway, but still I think Rot World in this is progressing very well. I really have been enjoying Animal Man since I started reading it again. It's awesome, especially with this whole Rot World thing. Although I have a feeling that once this ends, we're gonna reverse everything because it's just gonna I think Animal Man or Swamp Thing are gonna go 1 year back in time. Sorry about that. My camera just died. Anyways, Animal Man, Rot World, pretty much progressing very well. Again, it's an awesome series. I would definitely recommend you check it out. And also, if you get the chance, if you can, get both Animal Man and Swamp Thing because they work well together. I'm only getting Animal Man just because money-wise, but still, if they collect the Animal Man store half and the Swamp Thing half in separate trade paperbacks, then I'm gonna read the Swamp Thing story once it's collected. Okay, moving along. Also, one more thing, Animal Man, everything with Rot World will conclude next month, and the conclusion does involve both Swamp Thing and Animal Man, so just letting you all know. No, still an awesome series. Okay. Action Comics number 16. Superman sends Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane to the hospital to stop Nimrod the Hunter from killing Mr. Mxyzptlk, who's apparently been in a coma this entire time. And also Vindictix. Also, the reason Superman can go is because he's still dealing with the anti-Superman army. And then Vindictive, who's the pretty much fifth-dimensional villain of this, summons being known as Super Doomsday. You can see him on the cover here. To help from using a device from Lex Luthor's lab. And also Mr. Mxyzptlk. Also, just because Jimmy Olsen is able to say the word miracle, that automatically reawakens Mr. Mxyzptlk. And also, the Legion of Superheroes arrives. Just because they knew they had to help Superman, and so they just show up. And Superman gets captured by the anti-Superman army, and the issue ends with him getting ready to confront Super Doomsday. And also the backup feature for this issue is a Legion story. And it's pretty much the first, I think, the introduction to the Legion villain Universo. Okay, Action Comics number 16. Pretty much, this is just it seems like now Superman's allies are just starting to get together, minus the Justice League. Okay, the Legion of Superheroes is pretty much, it's just how Superman is going to get help next issue to deal with the anti-Superman army. So he's going to have the Legion, well, just the three founders though, Lightning Lad, Cosmic Boy, and Saturn Girl, and also Mr. Mxyzptlk will probably help him out too. I mean, that's what's going to happen. As far as, and also they do reference the death of Superman in the New 52 timeline. They say Superman died about 3 years ago. That's what happened. So, there's your reference point for that. Honestly, this was just... It was just boring. That's really all I can say to describe this. I mean, at first it seemed exciting when I was reading it, but then as it just got on, it was just like, okay, this is just basically how all of Superman's friends are going to get together to help him. That's it. That's all it was just filler. And I'm pretty sure that Grant Morrison's run on Action is going to end either next month or the month after, either 17 or 18, and that's when he's probably going to give it the big final ending. That might be the exciting point to the story arc. But, I mean, this was just... If you have any plans on getting the final issue for Morrison's run, then I guess read this, but I think you'll also need to read the last issue, because otherwise you might be a little confused. But Action Comics, I'd say only get it if you're a Grant Morrison fan. That's the only reason why. And yes, they do reference the death of Superman, but only just saying it took place 3 years ago. That's it. That's the only reference that's made to it. Okay, moving on to Marvel. And Again, time travel is involved in this book, but it's not as confusing as what goes on in Action Comics. Thor, God of Thunder, number 4. Basically, continuing off from the last few issues, we see future Thor almost dead and beaten, and instead of killing him, the God Butcher's henchmen let him live, and they just pretty much return him to his throne. But Thor doesn't want that. He wants to die. That's pretty much Thor in old age. He's the last god of Asgard. He's pretty much like the last god. He's the last god of Asgard. Everyone he knows is dead. He just wants his life to end. That's Thor. That's pretty much Thor's future. And meanwhile, what happened with Thor in his first encounter with the God Butcher back when he was like really young and before he had his hammer, we learned that the God Butcher kept him alive and tortured him for an unknown period of time. But returning to the present, Thor learns that the God Butcher is looking for something called Chronux, and Thor goes to the library, the Library of Knowledge, to figure out who or what Chronux is. And when he gets there, he finds the God Butcher's henchmen destroying everything, but Thor stops him, and he is able to figure out what the Butcher wants. And Chronux is apparently a planet of time gods, and now apparently it seems like the Butcher wants to use their power to travel through time so he can pretty much kill all gods at any point in time. And the issue ends with pretty much future Thor in battle again, and then suddenly present day Thor appears looking for the God Butcher. So yeah, interesting. So yeah, pretty much a very interesting ending, especially with present day Thor arriving to help future Thor. And I think like Thor seeing his past self is probably going to give him like the willpower he needs to fight and maybe keep on living. I think that's what's going to happen, because this story arc will conclude next issue in issue 5. Yeah, and also I think somehow it's going to the two of them are going to go and help their very younger self, the past Thor, help him out too. And I think it's going to be like all 3 Thors teaming up to defeat the God Butcher once and for all. That's my theory about how this is going to end. But still, Thor God of Thunder is a very awesome series. Jason Aaron is doing a great job on this. I would definitely recommend this to anyone. Alright, moving along. Scarlet Spider, number 13. 2 members of the criminal organization that originally kidnapped Arclay have arrived to take her back to their base or whatever, but they end up dealing with Kane instead, who gives Arclay enough time to escape. But apparently the 2 criminals are werewolves, and even though Arclay escapes, Kane gets beaten really bad, and it's implied in the ending that they start eating him. Kane. Wow. Yeah, I gotta admit that it's just not a very good beginning to a story arc. It's just werewolves, really, from Mexico. Even in this issue, Kane thinks this is a little ridiculous. He's like, werewolves from Mexico. Just not very. I'd say if you haven't read Scarlet Spider, it's a good, and you had heard people say it's good, try this story arc. This is pretty much the first part. It's a good jump. I'd say it's a good jumping on point, and I think now we're going to start to tackle the mystery of who Arclay is and what her big role is and why she was taken and stuff like that. I think we're finally going to get some answers with this arc. But this is just part 1. It's not a very good beginning, but hopefully it will progress and shape up a little. Alright, last comic. And this is a comic that I'm pretty sure everyone wanted to get this week. And it's probably one of the most and it pretty much follows one of the most controversial decisions. The Superior Spider-Man, number 1. Alright, our new Spider-Man, who is Otto Octavius, inhabiting the body of Peter Parker. For his first adventure, he deals with a new Sinister Six that consists of B and C-list Spidey villains, Boomerang, Shocker, Overdrive, Speed Demon, a new person using the name the Beetle, and also the Living Brain. Living Brain. I really don't think anyone has seen that thing in like years. I mean, I think he only had like one appearance, and that was like in the 10th issue of Amazing Spider-Man. Okay, but pretty much Spidey battles the Sinister Six. Unfortunately, though, they get away, but he does damage the Living Brain, and he is later able to examine it as Peter Parker. And Otto pretty much sets up... and after examining the Living Brain, and also apparently the claws on Otto's suit are able to leave spider tracers whenever he scratches a criminal or something. And he's also able to use the spider tracers to like listen in on their conversations, which is how he knows that they were going to attack Horizon. And Otto is able to set up traps at Horizon right before the Sinister Six strike, and basically he's able to take them all down. But right when and spoiler alert here, but Otto is able to beat them all up, and right when he's about to beat Boomerang to death, like almost kill him, he suddenly stopped, and it's revealed that. And we learn that Peter Parker is still in there. The real Peter Parker is still in there, but he's just not really in control. He's only able to affect Otto on maybe like a subconscious level. Like all that stuff we saw in Avenging Spider-Man 15.1, and a little earlier, like all these sort of impulse decisions. Like Otto's like, wait, I don't recall. It was like when in Avenging Spider-Man 15.1, when he stops a guy trying to rob a store, like his arm just reaches out and punches the guy. He has no control over that. That was probably Peter. And so now we learn that Peter Parker is still alive. He's just slowly making his way back to get control of his body. And that's where the issue ends. Alright, Superior Spider-Man #1. Very great. I really enjoyed it. Okay, it was a great first issue. And I do like the ending, how it gives us all that little glimmer of hope that Peter Parker is still alive, and he may one day get control of his body and become the real Spider-Man again. So yeah, Superior Spider-Man, very great. Dan Slott, he is a very good storyteller with this. He really is. Okay, he gives us a new taste of Spider-Man with Otto Octavius under the mask, and also a little glimmer of hope by keeping Peter alive. I'm probably going to do an in-depth review of this on Dark Avenger Inc. Plus, so check that out when I upload it soon. I'll probably upload it next week, maybe. But yeah, Superior Spider-Man #1, very great start. Loved it. Definitely recommend people pick it up. Okay, that's it for now. Okay, that's it for this week's comic review. A quick recap. Superior Spider-Man #1, very great start. Can't wait to read the rest of this. Really hope Peter gets control of his body again. Scarlet Spider #13. We may finally be getting answers about Kane's friend Arclay, but this is not a good beginning to the story arc. Hopefully it shapes up. Thor, God of Thunder #4. The Thors are starting to come together. Can't wait to read the conclusion to this. It's very awesome. Action Comics #16. This just seems like this seemed very, at best, dull. Hopefully everything, when we get to the conclusion of this, it's going to be awesome. Animal Man #16. Rotworld progressing very well. Really enjoying it. Can't wait to see what happens when if Buddy Baker actually breaks through into Arcane's fortress. What's going to happen? Can't wait for that. And Smallville Season 11 #9. Bart Allen is back, although I really wish he'd be the Flash instead of Impulse. Still, really liking this series. I think fans of the TV series are going to enjoy this as well. Okay, that's it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Spider-Man 1991 saying, see you later.